Microphone's on. Call the April 16th, 2026 City of Brentwood Architectural Review Board meeting to order. Calling the roll, Carl Carlin,
Here.
Paul Turner,
Here.
and Matthew Foreman here. Approval of minutes from March 31st, 2026.
No questions. I would move to approve.
Second.
Calling for roll call vote, Carl,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Matt Foreman, yes. All right. Housekeeping done, moving on to old business, 2002 South Brentwood Boulevard. Up to the microphone, remind us your name and address.
Yes, I'm Richard Emery, 55 York Drive, and I'm representing Mei Yang. She's in Japan right now. So, and thank you to the board for putting this off because I was out of the country on 2 different trips. So I appreciate that.
All right.
Okay, so
I've got some stuff I'm trying to put up. What I would like a little help if possible. Help me. Do I have the most recent submission? I think this one's 3.5, or is there something newer? This is what was on my agenda.
3-5, correct.
Okay, just checking. Wanted to make sure. All right. Summarize for us revisions, and let's see where we go.
Okay, I'll jump around a little with the drawings, but basically, we've had enormous amounts, and let me apologize, I have the same vocal cord problem RFK Jr. has, so it comes and goes. It's no big deal, but just bear with me. So we've had a lot of back and forth, lots of comments from the board. We've incorporated lots, we've tried lots of things, but there was clear direction the last time we all got together. And that was, well, and we have listened to what the board has said, to your suggestions, and the what I consider actually extensive amounts of drawings to show exactly how that will be done. Far more than any of the additions I've done here in Brentwood, which is quite a few. So the things that came out that we were asked to do, paint the tile. The 4 colors were found to be too much. The suggestion was going down to 2, and we have a drawing specifically on that issue, so I'll come back to that. That's item 1. Item 2, extend the eaves fascias to break up the mass, the taller mass. Okay, we have done that. Item 3, provide details of how the eave fascia will be extended. We have that in the drawings. Item 4, provide details of decorative screen attachment. We have drawings of how that's gonna be done. Item 5, show one design that is clear, concise, the drawings explain it so that the board can understand the direction we want to go. And item 6, provide samples, which you have there. Okay, and so if we can go to page AB 205. Okay, this drawing is just paint concept only. It's not the design. The answer was be clear of which tiles are being painted, tile by tile. That's what these drawings are for, and then the complete set also has it. So this is not the final design. This is just how the paint's being applied. So the 2 darkest tiles have been taken out, so that it's just a more consistent and less of a contrasting colors. So and those have been provided as paint samples. So those are the paint selections to match the two of the tiles, the lighter two. So, and again, that's not the design, that's purely the paint objective, which was the suggestion, let's paint two of them and come back and see how that looks. So that's what that is. If we can skip to AB 201. So this shows the south elevation facing May's other property. And by the way, May owns 4 houses here in St. Louis, so she owns the one on this side of the house. Actually, the 2 on that side of the house. So this shows, it's a little hard on that screen, but what the original drawings show it pretty clearly. It shows the painting of the tiles. It shows the extension of the fascia, which actually improves it drastically because it goes out over the door, the second door, and makes a sort of a focal point of the 2-story windows. So that was the suggestion of the board to break up the mass. And so the colors have been changed. The fascia eave is extended, and you'll see right in the middle of the extended fascia, we are putting a decorative panel that only sticks out a couple inches. So it's really wall applique to, again, help break up the diagonal tile pattern. Okay, if we can go to AB 202. This is the opposite side facing north, and it's not exactly north, but it's mostly north based on the way the house sits. You can see once again, we extended the fascia to help break up the larger mass, focus the mass on the window alignment at the end, the tile pattern, and then on this side, we have 3 decorative panels attached to the wall, again, to break up the whole mass. Okay, and if you can go to AB 000, which is the first 000. So you asked for a rendering that shows the full design. That's this minus any landscaping. Okay. AB 206. Shows really corners of both back corners. So you really get to see all 3 faces in these 2 renderings. So that's the final design. And as we've mentioned before, May intends to put up a fence, because as the board said, fences make good neighbors. And we won't go there.
Just to be clear, fences are beyond the purview of the board, so that
And
was...
the reason I bring it up is she intends to do it. It's not part of this submission. So,
Understood, thank you.
because it will help 2 neighbors that aren't getting along. Okay, AB 204, please. The board was clear and staff was clear. Show us how the eave will be extended and show us how the applique decorative screen will be applied. As an architect, what was important to me is leave the integrity of the tile. So these 2 details attach on the outside of the tile and then get flashed and gasketed in. So those are the details of how that's done. We've shown an example of the decorative screen. We have a sample coming, but it was overseas. So,
Being the weather barrier and just
Yeah, it's on standoffs with gasketed. Again, the tile is, I don't want to penetrate that tile other than slight attachment points on both the eave fascia and the decorative screen. So you asked for that, so that's how that's being done. And AB 203 is the backyard view. So that's it in a nutshell. You asked for one design proposal that can be voted on, and this is it. So we feel that we've addressed the long process and the many, many, many comments from all directions. We think we addressed the ones that were most important to the board, and we're happy that it's a kinder, gentler, better looking than it was before. So we're pretty happy with the proposal, and we hope that you feel the same. Any questions for me?
I think, because we know we've had public comment before, new submission, next door neighbor, are there any public comments on this submission from anyone in attendance? And Jessica, can you check online to see if there's anyone, please?
But I also have an email from my daughter that is a neighbor.
Name and,
Okay, I'll read the email. My name and address, Christy Morgan, and I live at 2029 Urban. I am in the neighborhood. I have a comment also, but I thought I would go ahead and read the comment from 8780 Lawn, Amber and James Jordan. Amber had a prior engagement. She and her husband couldn't make it tonight, and they wouldn't be able to be online. So for reference, I live on the same block as the applicant, downhill and 3 houses down. I have a fully unobstructed view of the northeast facing side of the applicant's addition. As it stands now, I have no objections to the current state of the house. I like the new drawings. Those were shared with her. And believe they should be address the concerns others may have. In good faith, the new bi-color scheme is far more suitable or subtle than the current palette, but still shows off character and individuality. The extension of the roof line and the screens do an excellent job of breaking up the walls and the pattern and reducing the perception of mass. I understand that this brand of porcelain tile is high-end and durable, and I welcome a high-end material versus a low-tier siding. I also appreciate that this addition is the applicant's investing in this neighborhood, and when the addition is completed, the extra square footage will add to property values significantly, which is a benefit to the neighborhood as a whole. I realize that there may be those that don't love the color choice, and I would not choose it for myself. But I believe that at the end of the day, the homeowner should have some agency in what their home looks like. We live in a very eclectic neighborhood with nearly every house on this street, with nearly every house on the block being a different style or era, and uniqueness fits our street. The applicant has already invested a lot into her home. She is granted a permit to build, and I urge the board to approve the proposed changes. Thank you, Amber Jordan. Now, I have full view of the back of the house, being where I live. My backyard and May's yard, I can see a full rendition of the house. I like it. My husband kind of laughs. He says, you know, it's unique, it's not boring, and it's better than looking at a white box. And he said he likes it. And so I'm kind of used to it too. Now the trees are starting to bloom and the flowers are, and it does make a big difference as far as visibility when you're driving down the street. on Brentwood Boulevard. She faces Brentwood. We're across from strip centers and non-residential buildings. And I think it's a fun addition to the neighborhood also. We have houses in our neighborhood that are the old porcelain tile houses from the 50s. We have a house that has, I think, the old castle-type turret, where you basically, the people used to sit up there with the cannons, kind of. I imagine in that day, that was probably considered a little different too, putting one of those on a small house in our neighborhood. So that's all I had to say. I hope it goes well.
Excuse me, ma'am, I don't think we got your address.
My address is 2029 Urban.
Other public comment?
Sam Simpson, 8786 Lawn Avenue. I live directly next door, as you know. I do have some. The materials that are on this currently were not approved, permitted.
That's my understanding, that the
Correct.
tile was not permitted.
Correct. It was supposed to be a sandstone color lap siding. Well, this wasn't even approved in the beginning, and here we are 6 months later, still trying to come to a resolution. And to me, I don't think they've been paying attention. We're still at a checker pattern. Still an eyesore, in my opinion. You know, but she does have a lot of balls waking up one day and saying, hey, I'm not putting siding up. I'm going to put ceramic tile on a high volume street like Brentwood and get away with it. So with that being said, it's just, in the beginning when you offered her the option of painting it one color, I think that's, you know, I don't like the size, the mass of it, but you said that was already done. There was a glitch in the city, so the city approved her plans when they went back. So, I mean, because, I mean, it looks nothing like what was proposed. So, I hope we can come to a resolution tonight, and this doesn't have to go to a higher court for lawsuits, but it is what it is. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Paul, did you have anything?
Oh,
My name is Paul Needham. I'm at 8782 Lawn Avenue, the neighbor of the neighbor. I actually like the way the eaves break up the mass. I think that's a really cool idea. The patterning is less noticeable on the sort of the, what is it, the Brentwood facing side of the building, whereas on my side and Sam's side, it still seems like there's a pretty big pattern that if the pattern could go away, at least on that side, I don't know if there's got to be some symmetry to the building where you have to have all sides be exactly the same. But it would, I mean, it's hard to look at like a building that's got like this, it seems like a kind of crazy pattern. But those are my issues. If it was all one color, I wouldn't have an issue. I think and like I said, I think the eaves kind of break up the massing. I think that's a great idea, great solution. So I still have an issue with the pattern.
thank you. Any other public comments? Anything online, Jessica?
Nobody has their hand raised. If anyone online wishes to speak, there's a raise your hand, and we can elevate you. Nobody's.
All right, so we have our architect back up, please. So I do want, we have absolutely made forward progress, thank you. And in agreement with the last speaker, I think the elements that have been added and the modifications to the massing have been absolutely positive. So I think we're absolutely moving in the right direction. I think especially on this elevation, things have been much more mitigated. My concern, and I'm seeing, and part of this is we're at the mercy of my computer screen, that television, whoever's watching at home, the printer that printed this out is different than the printer that printed this out. So I deeply appreciate bringing the two tiles. So I think the reduction from 4 to 2 is also a significant step forward. I'm looking at my computer screen compared to those monitors. Looking at that monitor, and I think you used the adjective subtle earlier, which I think is a wonderful description of where I hope we can get to. Because looking at the pattern that's up there, it's become subtle enough that you almost lose the strong diagonal, that you could look at it as a natural stone building with natural variation of materials, where any white stone building is not a white stone building. There's a little bit of variation to it that is more interesting than a white-sided box. But my concern is between the different renditions, I'm not sure how we get to that subtle intonation without breaking the stripe pattern. And I still have concerns, and I'd like to hear from the other board members. If you in the audience can't see it, there are physical samples of the tile and the painted tile. So the two darkest, and correct me if I get this wrong, staff, the two darkest tiles have now been painted to match the two lightest tiles, and that's the physical sample. Trying to take out of the equation the monitors and the color rendition and the printers.
Terrible.
They are terrible. It's much more washed out than what I'm seeing here.
Yeah.
But because it's much more washed out, I'm looking at that on this side. I don't know what that side looks like. And I'm like, that almost looks like a natural stone building that it's become so washed out. If we can get to something that looks like a natural stone without a strength of a diagonal pattern, I think that's something we could aspire to, but I want other commentary, please.
I agree with everything that's been said, so I won't restate it all.
I think we're down to the,
Yeah,
I'm going to
we're
focus the
down to that.
conversation. Sorry to interrupt, Carl. Are we good with the architectural elements and the panels and the other elements that have been revised in the submission? Because I think all of those are good, and we can agree that that's forward progress, and we like that. I think we're down to the cladding on the outside of the wall. Am I wrong?
I agree.
I agree with the positive aspect of what you said.
Okay, elucidate.
The architectural features are helping to mitigate what we've been addressing, which is to de-emphasize the increased mass of the house. The pattern, the diagonal pattern, which is not what you were talking about, is still kind of the question mark as to how to de-emphasize that. Part of what happens is the overall mass is being emphasized by the pattern itself. And I know it's better, so I'll concur with that concept.
I do think it's improved. So everyone, regardless of opinion, has expressed a desire to have a resolution, and I think we're able to do that in some way. I'm just not sure if the remaining conversation would entail.
Previous commentary had gone to Going back to classical principles, buildings have bases and upper portions, and was there any exploration of maybe taking the original submission did have a wainscot along the frame myself, the south side, there was a bit of wainscot here tying back into the original house. One of the offhand comments in previous was if the wainscot came around, maybe that would be one of the darker color tiles, and then going with a more monochromatic single color tile above. The other side of the house, I think, would have benefited from something like that as well. You almost are seeing the concrete base here, but if we had a base, or maybe even carrying the first floor as a single color. And I think one of the comments made previously was the single color with the base and the muted patterns above
And I don't want to say anything that complicates it, so I'm gonna I'm gonna leave it with that's an option. And we did think, at least I thought that in as much as an effort was made to pull a color from this tile, and then color pulled from that tile, right? And this from experience, but those who don't, there's a range of very light to very dark within this tile itself, right? And so imagine Photoshop, you're pulling the lightest possible color you can from the one, and you're pulling the darkest possible color you can from the other, right? And the goal would be to get these two to be closer. So that might be another way to ameliorate, to get to the stone pattern that Mr. Foreman is referring to. If those two were less extreme, you can't change the physical tiles. The unpainted tiles are not changing in this suggestion, right? The painted ones, could you push this one a little bit lighter? Could you push that one a little bit darker? Get them to be less different to each other, and would that then minimize the diagonal? Just a thought.
They're suggesting a third between those two.
No, I'm suggesting that, of the range of colors present in this tile sample, this is only one. Likewise. So I could probably pull one that's slightly lighter from that same tile, right? And I could probably pull one that's slightly darker from that same tile, and I might get the contrast between the two a little bit less, right? And that's an easy Sherwin-Williams trip that could maybe replace a lot of other more complicated discussion. That's a thought. It would minimize the diagonal pattern a little bit, which I think is the main goal right now.
still room for discussion about modification of the colors and pattern? Or is the homeowner gone as far as she's gonna go and she's done?
Done. So I'm asking for a vote tonight. This proposal.
If proposal, so we're asking for a vote. Okay. That makes it simpler. Any other public comments?
Move to approve that we, no, not move to approve.
Wait.
Oh.
Yes.
Side that I would see, that Sam would see, is this?
Yes.
That's the side, yeah.
Yes.
They don't have the panels on there, they're not.
So the articulation of the panel
This,
with,
That north-facing side, if that's what I see, I mean, that's really, really different from what I see now. And so that's the muted color that I see. I don't have too much of a problem with that one. Yeah.
And
but
just,
isn't this the one?
So I would actually maybe ask,
This is the one you guys,
changes.
so,
So,
Yeah, and actually, you know what, we can, whole thing could be shortchanged because we actually have physical samples. So I would actually say like renderings, we all know, so I would look at the physical samples
I'm
and
not
only that.
trusting the monitors.
Yeah.
So even though this is the submission. Yes.
Correct.
So that's why we asked for the physical samples.
Turning on the
so
microphones.
you neighbors could judge, we, the board, could judge what is really going to be on the wall.
Okay, so what I
So
want
we're
to know
done.
is this what it's going to end up looking like? Is this what you're voting?
About to vote on this tile pattern with these colors.
These colors.
Are you good with that?
Got that diagonal pattern.
I mean, it's all so broken up though. You have this and you have this and you have this. You can hardly,
Not a very
I
good
can
dic-
hardly see
I
it.
thought this was
So these are what are these?
It does, it has this pattern,
they put this one on there because that other one,
So these are the ones you brought,
yeah, this is
which
the
are
one.
actual photographs.
Yeah, the ones that were on the website.
Okay.
I-
That they
They're
did
theirs, not mine.
some Photoshop work. This is the actual submission. That's why I was being careful with dates. March 5th, 2026 is the submission we're voting on.
Yeah.
Still with the diagonal
Diagonal
pattern.
pattern, that's what I'm
with
talking
these
about,
colors.
with those two colors. It's got
Yes.
a diagonal pattern.
So we asked for the material samples to try to limit the variance of the representations by printers.
Correct. That's why I had these, because
This is sort of an
that is the
much
ori-
more
yes.
active.
All I'm saying is
Yeah.
that this is the color that comes out. This pattern on this side is almost completely broken up by these windows. There's only a pattern right there. I'm good with that. If it looks like this, exactly like this, I have no problem with it. I mean, I don't know if that's going to be that.
The
Yeah, we don't
concern
know
I've
until it's
raised is if we have these colors of tile, there's more contrast between what we're seeing here
Okay.
than what we're seeing here.
Correct.
Which would make the diagonal
Yeah.
stronger.
Stand out more. That's what, we don't, this isn't a good
But
depiction.
much less than the original.
Yeah. I think it just needs to be one color, sandstone.
I mean,
It even says vinyl siding sandstone on this.
All right. Does that conclude public comment?
Back up, or am I?
So I think where we've left off, we've gathered public comment, we clarified the differences in printers, et cetera, versus real-world samples. The impression that the two physical samples is giving. The pattern is represented on the 3-5 submission. 3-5-26 submission represents the patterns. The tile represents the actual colors. We've concluded public comment.
One final question, just as a final last measure, and I think you've already said this, I apologize for making you repeat what you already said. If the remaining comment seems to be the contrast between the two paint colors that were selected, is there any room to ameliorate that?
Yeah, if you're saying, gosh, nice try, but they could be tweaked closer, or
That is what I'm saying.
I think that's an easy one. It's going to one color or changing the diagonal, or that's the issue.
Thank
So
you. That does help.
I think there can be slight adjustments there to,
Okay. That would,
address
I
your
think that's
concern.
what I'm hearing from public comment, that would help, so.
okay.
I would agree with public comment that having the tile come closer together, we've broken up the mass the west, or is it east? It's east, the back wall.
Yeah, that's
This
the
wall
best way.
still remains a significant volume where I think the pattern will be the most evident. However, if we can get even closer than what we're showing here, and does that mean we're painting, you were only planning on painting individual tiles, correct?
Correct.
So now if we're trying to mitigate, are we keeping the two and going to a third, or are we going?
Yeah, I'm not trying to design it for you. My suggestion was just that the remaining hurdle seems to be the contrast between those two paint colors. And if we can bring them closer, then I think we get rid of that hurdle. I don't think it has to be one color. I think it would just be.
I would agree, it doesn't have to be one color. I'm back to my analogy to a natural stone building that does have variation, but you typically, we actually specify blends when we do commercial buildings, and we ask for things to be of a same family without outliers or without patterns. And I think we're down to the pattern is, we've heard from public comment that the pattern is objectionable. If we're mitigating the pattern with a much closer contrast of color, I think we could get there. The question is how to quantify that. Because honestly, some of the renderings that are here from the printers are, or even the images up on the screen where they're kind of washed out, look okay. When I see some of the other images, or my computer screen looks different than that computer screen, where the
I've fought
contrast
that
is.
issue for 43 years.
I'm only a 37, but yes. So
If I might make a suggestion, knowing the good faith effort that all have made, we all have our opinions, but I think good faith has been executed. Knowing personally the process of going into Sherwin-Williams, I'm not advocating for any particular brand, just they happen to do a good job of this. I know I could go in and say, I like this 20% lighter, and I want that 20% darker. I know that's a thing they can do.
Yes.
And that's how I feel like what I'm suggesting. So I'd be happy with a text line that said that color 20% lighter, that color 20% darker, and I would be good.
are you then saying paint all the tiles to represent?
Because I think the good faith effort to maintain a balance between the natural material and the material that we're, I would not paint the others. I'd paint those two as described, lighter color, darker color, done.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is that starts to replicate more of that natural look because now there's slight variations.
Yeah, I think it's just minimizing that contrast is the holdout, frankly. That's what I think we're still talking about.
Minimizing the contrast and therefore the pattern.
Yes.
If we're mitigating the pattern, which the overall more subtle facade, I tend to agree with, especially on the back, the big one, if that came in right now as a submission in white vinyl siding, we would ask them to do something with it. We would ask them to add more trim, pop a window in, do something to break up a big mass of white vinyl siding. We're trying to apply the same principles we've applied for decades in this board, that if we're trying to mitigate a big siding field by saying it's a natural stone pattern, but it's subtle, that would be something that would be actionable. Diagonals are still my concern.
And then just on that topic, I'm sorry, I don't want to cut you off if you respond. Oftentimes whether it's siding or tile or whatever it is, the very back of a building like this tends to receive the least amount of attention from us, right? Because it's the least number of people who see it and experience it, right? So given what I believe about the beneficial effect of the contrast change, as I tried to describe it, and given that the neighbor who's going to see this the most, for now anyway, doesn't seem to have a problem with it, and it is the very back of the building where we've let lesser levels of design detail occur. If you're suggesting like two of the screens come around, or something, and there's additional screens that you've already deployed successfully elsewhere, that would break it up. I know I understand there's consequences to that kind of talk, but I think we're there. I don't know, I think we're kind of there, personally.
Just to make a suggestion, since y'all are talking about a line item of the lighter color to be 20% darker and the darker color to be 20% lighter. If you want to include a condition or include that bring a color sample of those in for staff to review, that would be helpful for us as well.
All right. So in a lot of ways, to me, it has, I mean, it's more of a field paint sample. I mean, if we're going to go with the concept of approving the painting, it's a paint a certain size, whether 8 foot by 8 foot or something like that.
Right.
And just say, do we need to tweak it?
So you're saying a real-world mock-up,
Real world mock-up, exactly. I think that will make people much happier.
which we do all the time for those of you that aren't in the industry out there. We spend ridiculous amounts of money building mock-ups. So I think it's a reasonable ask to say, to take a portion of the house. I'm still hung up a little bit on, I'm not sure we're going to end at a spot where any of the tile is the actual color that it is today. Or if it is, it's not a stripe pattern of the lighter tile. Because looking at the image I had up a few moments ago, if I can find it with all the things open on my laptop, that it may be that we do paint a field in the lighter color and then create the modeled natural stone. I'm pretty sure if a painter on a commercial job site said, you want me to cut every one of those single tiles of this pattern, that they'd be like, can't I just paint the whole thing and then do this? But that's means and methods, and I try to stay out of that every day. So I'm trying to think of a way to move an actionable submission forward. So the March 5th, 2026 submission is acceptable with modification to the tile color, mitigating the diagonal pattern to be tested as a sample on the painted wall of the existing home. He said, hopefully.
Let me get a clarification. The 20%, 20%, let's assume that's something that pleases everyone. Is the diagonal still there? Are you trying to do? Because I can tell you May has an issue if it isn't a diagonal.
The question was, I guess, to us, maybe not just, I think, to me, the contrast is the remaining issue, and I heard that from public comment. For me, I think if we're addressing the contrast, the diagonals will not be as prevalent, and so therefore I feel we've addressed the diagonals, and so for me, that's okay.
My opinion is the diagonals would have to be subtle enough that as I looked at it, I would go, oh, there's something interesting going on there. Not, oh, what's that? So, and this is a very subjective comment, and I think where the test paint is probably correct. And I think we're down to the crux of the matter. The homeowner wants a pattern in a diagonal, period. The board, public comment, balancing different opinions, if that pattern were very subtle, and I'm not saying not noticeable, I'm saying subtle, and again, I don't know how to quantify that. If it was as subtle as some of the renderings we're seeing on a particular piece of paper over here that was printed on a particular day on a particular printer, I think it could be acceptable. But I'm not sure how to make this into an actionable motion or something that staff can validate.
25%. Done.
Yes, sir.
Person.
Absolutely.
Okay, you have walked around it. Okay.
Not
I
walked
haven't-
around
we
it
have not
because I don't
walked
have.
on the site.
Okay.
Yeah, No walking on the site.
Should have taken a field trip a couple months ago and walked around it to really get
Sir,
a full picture.
we need,
Yeah, it's just because it's recorded. So she's his task, yeah.
So, I mean, I don't want to shortchange any further conversations. There's more to have. I could attempt a motion if we wanted to do that.
Could I just ask,
We got deep sighs up here.
are we down to 2 colors? Or, because I thought you said you kind of pointed to all 4 of those. I just want to make
Well,
sure.
Well,
there's 2 tile colors which have an analog in the 2 paint colors. So I'm calling that 2 colors because this is derived from that, right? So, however, the 2 colors exist in a painted and a non-painted state.
Because I think the
Right,
rendering
so-
showed just 2 colors.
Correct, but
Yeah.
that's going back to my comment of if we're painting and we only want 2 colors that are more subtle than what we're seeing here, we're painting all of it, not just the 2 darker tiles.
I just wanted to verify, so if we need to go look at something, we know what we're exactly supposed to be. So
so Carl, also just to clarify your 20%, 15%, whatever it might be, is the lighter one going to be 20% darker and the darker one is 20% lighter?
Yes, that's, to bring them together.
Exactly. Okay, just want to clarify. Just
yeah.
want to clarify.
Again, are trying to mitigate contrast.
Yes, because I feel whether we've said it out loud or not, I think everybody has been reacting to the contrast. I feel like that is the nature of this design, both positive and negative. That is what is driving the comments. Everything else we seem to have agreed on already, right? So I'm just saying the way to get through it is to minimize the contrast. So
Therefore, minimizing how obvious the pattern is back to more of a subtle pattern.
yes.
And it will be, I mean, again, it's all perception because there are still 4 different finishes there. So it's still a four finish pattern. So we're minimizing that. And I think I can go with that direction that Carl's speaking about because it will end up being, it'll still be a 4-color pattern no matter what you do because we have 2 paint colors and 2 natural colors.
And honestly, if we paint everything, it'll be stripier. Like I think having
Yes,
the subtle
absolutely.
variations makes it less stripy. So I would not want to paint everything for that reason.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing and what we're agreeing to, I'm speaking for May, so there's possibility she would say no, but I think I can convince her, trust me on that one.
We are operating under the assumption that you are empowered, sir.
I am May. Okay, so those 2 paint colors will go to Sherwin-Williams, ask for a 20% adjustment on each of them. We'll do a test area on site and share with staff so that ARB can see it. And you can walk around the building at that time.
If we can emulate how subtle the pattern is on this rendering on this piece of paper, if we're down to the point where it's this subtle, I think that's an actionable submittal.
Little stamp on there.
So I would move to approve the submittal as submit. Oh, we have a person.
Come on up to the mic.
Jennifer Taylor. I am actually here for another project, but I've been lucky enough to be here on the same night as this project another time. And just have a comment because I have sat on design review boards before myself. And
I'm sorry.
yeah.
I didn't get your address. Name and address.
Oh, you need my address as well? Yeah. Like where I live? Okay, 3312 Cambridge Avenue in Maplewood. And my name was Jennifer Taylor. On some of the design review boards that I've been on before, we've asked people for mock-ups. So you can go, if they're using Sherwin-Williams, you can get samples and you could have them mock up a couple of boards and bring them in. And then you'd really know what you're getting.
Part of the suggestion was actually to choose an area of the house and paint it on the house.
Yeah, Yeah, that would be even better, but sometimes people are resistant to that. So just wanted to throw that out there. Thanks.
I'm going to attempt this. So I would move to approve the drawings as submitted on March 5th, 2026, with the caveat that the applicant will bring updated paint samples for staff and board review to be assembled in a mock-up on site for a future date. And the assumption of the motion is that this will go successfully, so we are voting tonight in a yes or no fashion.
So I would deign to add to your motion that we're going to reference Exhibit AB 202. And I mean this exhibit.
Should I try again?
Are we adding the 20% darker and the 20% lighter on each color?
I left it out thinking that if there's going to be a staff approval step, then
Well, the intention is to provide paint colors that mitigate contrast.
Okay.
And what I wrote at the bottom was pattern and contrast exhibit on this page 202.
To meet the exhibit's coloration.
try again. So I would move to approve the submittal March 5th to 2026 as submitted with notes to reference this specific drawing AB 202 for the intent of the minimized color differences to be resubmitted to staff for approval and also done in a mock-up on site. Assuming the success of that venture, then we're voting on that.
That the darker color should be lighter and the lighter color should be darker.
And that our approval will be based on this, on the success of lightening this color, darkening that one, but that the intent is understood. That's my motion, and I'm sticking with it.
I will second Carl's motion.
Calling the roll, Carl Garland,
Yes.
Matt Foreman, yes. Paul Turner.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
6 meetings, new record. All right.
$30 billion worth of architecture. I've never had a huge $300 million bill.
Thank you. And in deference to the other applicants, we're going to move right along. So thank you.
All right, 8718 Eulalie. Up here.
Good evening, Bill Rombach, Bill Rombach Custom Homes, Rombach Development. My address is 263 Victor Lane, Catawissa, 63015.
On just a moment.
And as I wait, I will just go on the record to say that I've minimized the amount of vertical patterns in everything we've done here.
Much appreciated, thank you. All right, so you're one of the 2 vacant lots down the block from us.
Yes, sir. Tonight we are one of the 2, and we own both of them. Could you flip to your rendering sheet just so I can verify that you've got the most updated submittal? Yep, you do. Great. Good evening. We have a sold to-be-built home for a homeowner. The homeowner currently is on the deed of record for the lot and here this evening. It's a 2,500 square foot, 2-story home, ground floor master. The siding, as you see, is a vinyl siding. We've got James Hardy accents around all the windows. The soffit and fascia is fully enclosed. Architectural grade asphalt roof. We do have a stone accent both on the garage and under the porch slab as a forward facing to the street. And I would ask if you have any questions. We have material samples here tonight if you'd like to see, taste, smell the actual materials. But other than that, I also have a material sample sheet, which I don't think was part of your submittal, if you'd like a copy of it.
Yes, we would like a copy of that. Otherwise, I typically end up handwriting all of those on there. So this is not cooperating with me. Okay, I got that to work. Thank you. All right, so this was actually the view I wanted because you're right next to this one.
Correct. Yep.
You're going right here and we're right here.
Yes,
So
sir.
what I was after was discussion of the similarities between the two. All right, so I saw the first submission. Thank you for working with us on the front porch. I think that was part of the initial staff review in keeping with the current design guidelines. Our goal is to try to lessen the importance of the garage. We want a holistic composition. There's documents backing that up, that curb appeal with the porch out help our property values. So,
Sure.
So
And the fascia line of the, the eave line of that overhanging porch roof as well, I think also complements what you're speaking of.
yes, having those two come forward, this line in particular coming forward is a good thing, and then also breaking up that vertical mass with the eyebrow here. So, and I didn't think of it until earlier in today's meeting, but how similar are you in the colors to the one next door?
Hardly at all. That is a very taupey beige house. I would actually classify that siding typically as a Navajo beige in color scheme, and we are definitely on the gray scale for ours.
Back to color rendition and all the other things we just finished talking about.
Yep.
So,
You will see a ton of red in the existing house. Ours is very red free. It's a very cool gray.
Can we just go around the house with the drawings? Yeah.
rendering looks out of whack, but maybe I'm just,
It's going to be part of perspectivization on rendering. The peak on the drawing is very accurate, as that came from Revit.
Do they actually line up?
What I'm suggesting is the rendering is more of an artistic rendering of the Revit drawing.
Understood.
Okay.
It looks from here as if they don't actually line up. Yeah.
I could actually get on board with that line much more than that line.
Oh, I see what you're saying, the top. The actual.
Yeah, something is something somewhere is not aligned.
Somewhere in the neighborhood of 2.7 to 3 foot difference in the height. To your point, when no one ever sees anything in perspective, but that one just looked off to me. So if I'm taking the same baseline, which actually is not a finished floor,
So that one's just set down low on the page.
I promise in the field they will be the
not
same.
off by much, because that's the porch line right there.
Is there a step down from the front door to the porch? No, there isn't. Well, it looks like the worst that's going to happen is that it's actually shorter than you're showing it. So.
That's about right. So this one's showing 30 foot, 6 inches-ish from grade to peak. So if it's 30 foot 6 inches in lieu of 32 foot 10,
The left, there's something on the left one that is, something's up.
What is the lower, the other elevation, your left side elevation showing on height? Or the two sides?
I don't want to go to the bottom siding, which seems to align with the finished floor. And if that's our datum, 31.9 there. And then this one, if I go from that point to the bottom siding,
Three different measurements.
and the
Yeah, I live
finished
in
floor
Revit.
still
It doesn't
looks like
surprise
it's
me.
up here. And I'm, with all due respect, I work in Revit every day, and no, I don't trust it.
So with all due respect, I'm going to beat my architect.
No, architects are good.
Oh, he will be good if you beat him regularly.
Our clients do that to us every day, so.
I think I feel like the one on the top left is a distortion of something. It feels
Does feel tall.
way taller than it probably would ever need to be for any construction purpose. So I'm guessing it's too tall for some reason.
Is the pitch listed on there? Is it 8/12, 10/12?
Probably is not listed on these drawings, and my apologies on that too. Because we had to make changes to the front porches, and I think some of this was done in conceptual and not necessarily in, full drawings.
So as we've referenced in the previous discussion, one of our typical strategies for helping mitigate the massing of the house is if there's an ability to without compromising the program on the second floor, without squeezing bedrooms or making weird little, soffits in bedrooms, that's always a good move to reduce the pitch of the roof, reduce the impression of the mass.
Sure. One of the issues we're going to face is I think we are at the maximum of being able to fit without clipping the corners off of ceilings in those bedrooms. We're kind of getting the most out of the second floor as we
Yeah,
can.
because you're right in here with your,
Right. So any reduction in pitch of the roof is going to create an increase in side gable activity and massing.
okay, site plan. So you are set back a little bit from the neighbor to the west.
We are. So we're fairly in line with the east neighbor as we roll down the street.
I'm sorry. Yeah, nope, you're right. East, thank you. So this is the new house.
No. You were right. So the house to the west, which is that house.
You're behind that one.
So we are set behind that. Part of the reason in doing that is to achieve an 8.5% driveway slope. Secondarily, because we have a aircraft carrier worth of BMP in the front yard for stormwater, we're having to push that house back in order to be able to channel everything to that BMP and also be able to take the stormwater off of the drive into that BMP.
Let me be clear, I had the same issues and I encourage you pushing it back. So
Okay,
you
great.
also, for once, have a deep enough lot that we can go back. And that's actually been one of the strategies where we have lots that are deep enough, especially with the garage front houses, to break up that line on the street.
Got it.
Creates interest without necessarily changing design. So,
Fantastic.
Agreed. Sorry, you're in charge. I forgot.
you can be chairman next year if you want.
I was only going to ask if there was any public comment.
Let me look online while we look at the room. We have 5 people online. If anyone would like to speak about this submission, please raise your hand, and we will unmute you for comment. I don't see anyone in the room commenting. Going once, going twice. All right, I don't see any raised hands. All right, is there other commentary? We've got there's window trim, we've got gables and accents. Mr. Turner.
I still believe I sent this note out previously that I still believe our new guidelines encourage that space above the garage, if it's in front of the doorway, the main door to the house, should be occupied. So is that an occupied attic up there? What is that?
No, sir, that is not an occupied attic. It's unconditioned space.
So I still think that does not meet what our new guidelines say. I don't know if staff has an interpretation one way or the other, if I'm wrong or correct. I mean, it's still new, so
I'd have to go back and re-review it, but it is up to your discretion. A design guideline.
okay.
And understanding, and I think I agree with that. I think that is mentioned in the guidelines. I think you're correct about that. And I do think it's a worthy discussion to have both now and for future projects. And especially given the time and effort that was put into the guidelines. So I agree completely. I can interpret one of the goals of that suggestion as trying to keep the front face of the building active, and so, you know, one of those things would be if it was occupied, you would probably have a window for the purpose of the people behind that to have sunlight and views. So the window then becomes a signifier of occupation potentially, you know, and so if we have the signifier of occupation and it improves the front balance of it, I can agree that a higher goal and a valuable goal would be to encourage people to make those spaces occupiable. In the case where the guidelines are relatively new, in the case where there is a signifier of occupancy, I'm less concerned maybe than I might be without the window or with just a grill or something, you know, like a vent, right? But I agree with Mr. Turner that this is a valuable thing to think about, and I appreciate that you've provided the window matching the scale of the other windows to at least give the impression of somebody being home and not having this being a blank facade, right? So, but I don't want to minimize the comment.
So again, like in March, isn't that when we had our last meeting, was March? So we had one similar to this that actually was putting a closet up there. So it was occupied. Is that still an option for this, to do it as a attic-style truss and go ahead and make some usable space up there so that somebody can adjust the blinds, open the window, whatever needs to be done?
I'm sorry, but I just broke my own brain.
I'm sorry.
Look at the mass of the roof. We have an eave that comes across here. The main roof is in line with the eaves of the dormer, and it continues across, and there's a vertical face of wall. Where in the rendering, the roof comes all the way down to here, which is not where the eave for the upper roof terminates in the elevation, in the rendering. So this at first was like, as I was looking at windows, I'm like, what is going on here? And there's a discrepancy in the drawing. So knowing that you were kind enough to make revisions prior to the meeting, a simple question is the design intent more represented by the rendering or by the, I will hazard to guess, quickly modified front elevation?
The design intent is more represented by the rendering because we do not want to increase the massing of that front-facing roof to where it goes roof to roof.
Any other board comments on what I just noticed?
No, it explains why the roof looks so ginormous on the on the front elevation, because that bottom line to the top line is quite a distance. I admit now I don't know how much unraveling we've just done, because if you start to take that rendering and place it next to the other drawings, it may very well be that the roof is the way it's shown on the upper left, and that might make for a greater unraveling. So I don't know. It appears just from looking at it that the other two drawings do actually relate to the upper left one, and so like the lower right drawing, you can see the remainder, where your cursor is. That appears to be the same location for the roof edge as the one in the upper left, which would definitely contradict what the rendering shows.
This one's coming all the way down to here. Here it's terminating. That slope would never reach this point if this piece of wall exists. So this pitch would inherently be a lower pitch than this one.
My guess is the rendering pitch is a 6.
Again, games with perspective, so hard to estimate.
And I don't know if the rendering is even in perspective. It looks like it is, but it's not fully in perspective either. It's
No, understood.
it's just a technical thing. Like I can see it because the edges are kind of coming in and they're not in the other drawing. So something is half perspective, half not. So I think it's going to be hard. I mean, I'm just going to say it might be hard for us to navigate this with the information present. That might be difficult.
Feel like given the statement that the design intent is the rendering, and given that staff is going to be looking at this to represent what's built in the field, I'm not sure we in this meeting could chase this around and make enough design revisions. I would suggest that the design intent that you're showing in the rendering is in line with what the board's expecting. Again, looking at it here, I'm seeing some discrepancies in the window size above the garage door. That might be something, per Mr. Turner's comments, that you might want to address as you come back. But I would suggest that we would want to table this until the exhibits can be updated to represent accurately the design intent.
My question is as follows. So to follow up to that, what I didn't want to have to do, so we drew one set of plans, then we drew a second set, and then we're back to a third set. So with the amount of time that we had and with the expense of drawing a full set, is there a way that we can litigate some of these and just say, this is the intent, this is what we will approve? For instance, Mr. Turner's question about the window, I really heard two things: that a window signifies occupancy, but I also heard that the window, which I would agree with, gives a more occupiable appearance from the front. So it makes it less of a battleship in front, gives it more of a design, architectural design element than just a blank wall, or like a 5-pound to throw up there, which we don't really want to do.
I would agree with that. My comment is actually more along the lines of the window and the rendering looks smaller than the window in the elevation.
Right. So my question there would be, if we could narrow down a size, so if we said, schematically speaking, the window and the, I'm not sure which one you like better. So if we say, and I personally, I have an opinion, but my opinion isn't a die on that hill opinion, on that window, for instance.
I think the window might be a red herring. Like this, probably easily resolved.
Well, but
Sure, agreed.
Yeah.
so I'm back to, if the design intent is the rendering, and we're talking about the typical design elements that this board addresses. You have window trim, you've broken up the massing on the side, we have the accents in the gable eaves. You do have a fairly deep lot. I'm concerned about how big and blank the back roof is, but there aren't any really adjacent neighbors. As I look more, I see a difference in the head height of the plate that is also not represented here. If the exterior elevations were adjusted to match the rendering, and if that's something that staff can review, or even if we just had to put a red line next to each other and match it up. I don't think we're actually talking about design intent. I think we're actually talking about integrity of the documentation.
Yeah, and the more I stare at it, and I say this respectfully, the more I stare at it, the more I'm convinced that they're actually sort of different buildings. There's a lot of things that are different, and you know, for instance, the garage door on the elevation looks super squished somehow. So I just, and again, it's not about criticizing whoever did, it's nothing about that. It's more just what Mr. Foreman just said, like, we need to, for lots of reasons, some of which we've encountered this evening, we need to have clear, accurate, coherent, understandable for all involved drawings that represent the intended final product. And I don't know that we're there now, because the rendering and the elevation are significantly different in some ways that make it hard to, I think, just say, oh, we're going to adjust this and it's going to match. Like, they're pretty different. And with respect to the issues you raised, the rendering shows a house I think we could approve. They're just not the same house right now. And so
is there a pathway forward to say that the design or the architectural elements that are shown, regardless of size, we break up the siding, we've broken up massing with windows, we've kind of checked all the boxes that we go through to make a compliant wireframe. That being said, it doesn't perfectly match the rendering. Can we move forward with an approval on the rendering, have staff then take our submitted architecturals and sit down and say, does this not only match the design intent, the architectural intent of what we're showing in the black and whites, but it completely represents what we're showing in the rendering, because the rendering is only a front elevation rendering. So really the elements we're looking at there are some massing, but roof line for sure, color, siding, materials. Is there a pathway forward on that so I can spend the next 30 days producing those architecturals for submittal, and then moving forward in a 30-day period on breaking ground?
Timeline on that is up to them, but I would say if we could have a set of elevations with all the design elements that you've just iterated that match the elevation, that match
The rendering.
the rendering with the elevations. And I do think when your designer gets in and starts looking at things like the difference in the top plate here at this window in the upstairs bedroom, that top plate difference, I do think is going to chase around and change the roof height. It's for the better, quite frankly, because I think if we're mitigating this height and, we're talking about the slopes and the other commiserate changes with the large roof, that I think it's going to be an overall improvement. If we can hit the design intent of the elevation, match the perspective rendering, I think we would, again, I'm not concerned about the design, I'm concerned about the documentation accuracy.
I will just suggest, if you wish to, in order to facilitate moving forward in a quicker manner, you can submit for the building permits. They would just not, and get those under review. They would just not do anything, issue the final until we've gotten the final approval from
Sure. Is there a way to, so that sounds great, and I appreciate that, and we will do that.
Allow me to extrapolate. What you just said was you'll start the building permit while he takes another month to come back to the board for us to approve it.
But he needs a month to finish the drawing, so it's all about the same anyway, so.
But, I mean, it's some of the building, internal building code issues that doesn't relate to the external.
We could go ahead and do the plan review on it and have that ready to go for the
Kind of
next meeting.
fast-tracking the approval for the permit
Gotcha.
by doing it coincident with the ARB review, because we have a comfort level that we've substantively met the design guideline and the feedback from the board.
Correct. I would, if you want to make it, come back with just revised elevations, with the window that matches the size. Because in the elevations, it looks like the size of the window over the garage matches the size of the windows on the front. So if those two match,
Yeah, I don't think
There
we need to get
changes.
into that much detail for
Yeah,
for
what
this.
I'll say that I will, again, without trying to encourage you to yell at your architect, I will say that rendering was not generated from the same model that made the elevations.
Agreed, 100%. I
So-
can tell you where the rendering came from, where he sent the rendering from, and I can tell you where the drawings came
Yeah,
from.
so
I don't even think the drawings came from
if
the same
if the
place.
Revit model, becomes the same proportions and the same everything's that we're seeing in the rendered model, that'll change these drawings significantly.
Sure.
And that could have an effect on the plan review process as well, because there's a lot of volumetric things that are different, right? That said, it may be fine, and I'm fine with what everyone had said. So to be clear, like, they're not coming from the same model. There's no way. And so, just so that's on the record, so.
I think the idea of everybody sitting in the room is that if we all look at the rendering, we like the rendering. So my intent then with Matt Moore, who's the architect, not to put his name out there so people can go after him, but who's also a friend of mine, maybe until I said that, as long as I make the house look like the rendering and keep the design elements that we know to put in it, ultimately, none of those things were any of the sticking points on why we had to reiterate with the house. So moving forward, I'm very comfortable moving forward with the idea that we point to the rendering and we say we want it to look like that, and then we make everything else look like that, and we are comfortable with that.
So I need help from staff on the motion. Are we tabling this till drawings are coming back?
Correct.
Good,
Yeah.
okay.
So,
well,
but
no, not table, continuing to the
Sorry.
next meeting, which is May 21st.
With the understanding
Continuing,
that
yeah.
that's not necessarily going to impede the permit application process.
right. So, but just to clarify something, I'm scrolling through what I downloaded from yesterday. So the rendering I have on here for 87, this is 8718 Eulalie?
It is.
Okay. So the one I'm looking at is the mirror image of the one we had up there. And this one has no wainscot of stone on the one I have on my computer right now.
That would have been an
That one
old.
was, the porch was pushed back.
This is the original submission is what you're saying. So that's what's, so do we have both of them on the?
My understanding is that one, staff gave comment to the applicant and the applicant made revisions. and
Gotcha.
This is the updated, so I would say that's void.
Right, outdated.
Gotcha. So did we,
So this single document is dated
Top.
I see. So you have them both in there.
4/9
Gotcha.
4/9/26.
I've scrolled down too far. Okay.
All right, but
There it is. So, but that was one thing. The other one is just, we have asked this before, and in the updates of the elevations that we're looking for, we always ask for that wainscot to be returned back to the house. So the stonework that you have will return on the side elevation back to the main entrance.
just instead of the, stick on the front, one of the things that we've been successful with in the past is a small return, just to kind of wrap the corner to a reasonable spot.
Just on the inside, just on the porch side.
Yeah, we like to ask for it on the,
This one, I'm not sure I'm
Opposite
gonna die
side,
on the
but-
hill if we're that
Right,
far back
right.
from the street, but I think, and we don't have a good elevation of it, but if we're wrapping this face back
I'm
there.
okay with it, especially given, just throwing this out there as well, it's not a huge impact for us construction-wise, but it's gonna be low, because we pull that porch so far forward. We don't have the old-time space, that 8 feet, 11 feet, whatever it is there, which would be kind of a full-height space until you get to the porch. So because that porch is pulled up, you're really only gonna talk about, 8 to 12 inches worth of potential exposure for whatever that brick is. So it's got a very minimal cost impact anyway.
So you're saying it's actually lower than what's showing on the,
No, what I'm saying is when you return it on the porch, because that porch is pulled all the way forward, there is no ground level.
oh, no, it returns to the inside wall.
No, I understand, right.
If you look at the elevation, this is above.
Correct.
So we'd be saying the
Yeah.
depth of the porch here,
Yeah.
break out of that. The depth of the porch on the side, which there is no elevation of. Let's see if we
It's showing as left, oh, no, it's showing on the right elevation. So it would not stop at the, oh, yeah, and again, the right elevation is showing the short, oh,
So really, yeah, exactly.
gosh, yours is different again than,
And I think you're working off the old, Mr. Turner, you're working off the old document if you have the one that doesn't have that stone in front.
That is a good comment. I think we would like to see that
Yeah.
wrapped back. I'm going to add another arrow,
Sure.
and then I'll
That's
share
no
this
problem.
with staff so they can share it with you. Any other comments?
Move to continue as noted to the next meeting in.
One quick question about
Oh,
that.
I
Is
would
there
call
any,
that.
is there any facility or avenue that if I get my architect on completing all the documents in, reasonably speaking, a 10-day window in order to move forward with this, is there an intermediary way that we can do this under staff review or under private special session, to give it a fancy word? I mean, can you guys look at this before 30 days?
We'd have to have public comment on any revisions. Push the button, I saw it.
I saw it too.
So, I mean, you would have to comply with all the notice requirements and all of that, but it would be a special meeting. It's not that we could have a private meeting and bring these guys in and make approval. It has to be public.
Is there a way that, and I'm just trying to think outside the box a bit, is there a way that if we identify the changes here now, if we make those changes, we don't need necessarily another public meeting, given it would be, it would almost be, I mean, I hate to say it this way, it would be an approval based upon conditional, it'd be a conditional approval based upon checking that those things happen the way that we said they would happen tonight.
In the past, we've done markups and we'll do approve as noted.
Sure.
Our concern, I think, is the geometry and the
Understood.
discrepancies are enough that I'm not comfortable marking this up to be the exhibit that goes on the record.
It is honestly a pretty extensive series of markups, and not just markups, like there'd be design and effort put into figuring out how the pieces go together, right?
Gotta make decisions.
Yeah, I don't, it might not be appropriate, it is not appropriate for us to do that level of design, yeah.
okay.
But it's a fair question, but.
I think we're back to a motion to continue.
Motion to continue as noted to the May what?
21st.
For 21st meeting with staff review to be concurrent.
I will second that.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All
Thank
right.
you.
I have to
Thanks,
go back
everybody.
and reread Robert's Rules of Order. All right, 8646 Eulalie, step up and tell us about your project, please. I gotta go find it because I downloaded your file. Let's see.
I am Scott Weaver with List and Design Build, representing 8646 Eulalie.
I'm the architect, Dan Prize, also representing.
So the project is a rear addition to an existing house that we are taking down an existing, for lack of a better term, kind of Patriot sunroom look to a room, pouring a short wall foundation and going back with an expanded kitchen and primary suite.
Oh, I had that down. Okay, hang on. Sorry, I actually had it. I just didn't know the name of the file. All right. Popular tonight. You're right up at the top of the hill. South, are you on the south side? Where are we?
You're right.
There we go. Okay. So, on this, no modifications to the front at all. Doesn't look like anything's protruding, so nothing's actually visible from the street.
Correct.
Lines I saw, but
Yeah, the roof line for the rear ridge will be in line with the existing ridge line of the house, so not visible from the street. And we do not protrude past either side of the house with the new addition.
porch with enclosure under it. We've got window trim, all the lovely things. Any comments from other board members?
I didn't notice if the colors were noted.
Colors were noted in some of the literature that we sent with it. What is coming off is white aluminum or steel siding, and we're going back with white vinyl siding around the rear to match existing.
And as long as it's somewhere in the documentation.
Yes. Yeah, I sent a full scope of work. It is noted in that scope of work.
Any public comment on this submission? I will go look online. Anyone online, if they have comments, please raise your hand. 5 online tonight. Comments from the board?
Move to approve as submitted.
Calling the roll?
Second.
Carl Carlin?
Yes.
Turner?
Yes.
There you go.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Get to go see them. All right. 2905 Brazeau. I always have to be careful pronouncing that one. All right. Tell us about your project, please, while I pull up your drawings.
All right, my name is Scott Paul with Vanderbilt Homes, 2617 Windcrest Ridge Drive. Currently, we own the property located there, and I believe it is the worst house on the street. So you guys can thank me later for fixing this up. So we have a 2,700 square foot house, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, or 3 bedrooms, 3.5 baths. And we are finishing the basement too with another bedroom and another private bath down there as well. We have a 2-car detached garage, which we did shrink down, and that's going to change the site plan a little bit, but we were going to keep the same water mitigation back there, just as a little bit additional. So the biggest thing with this house is that we have the 2 front porches on the front, or not a porch and a deck out there. It's because we face Brentwood Park over there. We feel like that's a good asset for the house for that. There's a deck on the house next to us on the, I believe that's the south side. So if you have any questions, color samples are here. We're not using vinyl siding. We're using hardboard LP siding. That'd be the same thing with the softened fascia. The deck is going to be composite, and the rest of it will be fir wood stained.
So I'm just going to note this because this was one of the things when I looked at it at first, I was like, is that the front or the back? So that's the front.
Yes, that is the front. If you look at the rendering, it helps out quite a bit. We're utilizing that sliding glass door for all that glass to look out at that park.
Glanced at the name of the home, it's like, I bet this was
It was 30A down in Florida, a very popular place. You got some ideas from there.
rendering. right, as I noted before, I've been doing this about 20 years. Typically, one of the conversations we have is the garage sticks out and the front door is too far back. This time the porches are out and the door's back there, but it's got a great street presence.
We like it because it's a little bit different than what's over there. It has a lot of character to it.
So now I'm being curious, as you,
You really need to look at the houses that are around there too, because some of them are, it's like hard to find their front doors too.
oh, yeah, I'm
So-
not concerned about that. The next question I was gonna ask was, how are you treating on the site plan, which I think I opened up, hang on.
Differential runoff?
That's outside our purview.
Okay.
Inside joke here.
Trained him well. No, I was typical of a catalog type home. These are drawn on this beautiful flat site where you're going to have a drop off at the front. And where I was gonna go with the geography of your particular site, I fully endorse the front porches and all the other things you've done. But even the rendering is showing you essentially on a flat site where have you placed the front edge of the house in relationship to the grade so that porch is almost at grade, or are you going to be up? Or
No, we do not like what you're talking about, where you have a lot of exposed foundation in front. So we are planning that we're going to hit grade pretty close to the front porch there. We will have steps from the sidewalk down to the public walk on that. From the private walk to the public walk, we'll have some steps in there for that variation. I believe that's shown on the site plan itself.
So that's, you've got one, two, so the new one's 1, 2, 3, or 4 feet of fill, or of fall. And then the porch is,
Can you zoom in on that for me just a little bit?
hang on, let me save
Since
it.
I didn't find it on the file I
There should be a
have.
spot elevation on the side building corners there.
I'm looking at it in relationship to so the one neighbor to the north is projecting 10 or 12 feet in front of your front elevation, is that right? Seeing on
I
there?
have to look at that there. I didn't print that one out to bring with me today, but I believe it is. We have
Okay.
one of the things we have going on here to get to the site here, we did push it back a little bit. You see how it was before, and then it's pretty close. We did push it back.
Splitting the difference between the ones.
Okay.
on
Yes.
either side.
And if you look underneath there,
fine.
there's a subterranean easement that runs diagonal, and it's pretty wide there. We felt that it might make potential buyers a little angst to have their house sitting over that, even though it's fine. So we just pulled it back a little bit to get the main house out of that.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at the drawing. It is a little bit hard to see. It looks as if the porch of the new building is out in front of the
the
front
porch is
face of
out
the
in
two
front.
houses.
Okay.
So it is out front of the other two houses because the porch is really the experience line of that building, right? So if we were looking to match the other two houses, the porch would be the thing that was in line with the other two houses.
Okay, so that,
Yeah.
that brings up the question, because then, or if this 9.33 feet is split by the 25-foot building line, that's a zoning issue, correct?
If we need to move it back, we're more than happy to do that.
So I was gonna, I'm sorry, so what was the question?
So I'll reiterate what I believe is the correct zoning. So your porch can only encroach 5 feet in front of it. So
Yeah.
at a minimum, that front face of the porch can only be 20 feet from the property line.
Correct, the way
That-
we read the code as
Right,
well.
and it looks like it's 6.5, 7 feet
So,
out in front of the
We go-
25-foot line. So that's why But also, I think if we kind of pull it back a little further, I mean, there's a split difference there, like you said. So if it comes back 2 feet or so, so that the,
I actually, I mean, respectfully, I think it is 5 foot over the 25-foot building
It very well
line, so
maybe. There's
it's at
another,
20.
there's another factor, which is then, in addition to the setbacks, which is a zoning administrating thing, which frankly, we don't even administer, right?
Right.
Then there's the prevailing context issue, right? And in this case, the porch is fully in front of the other houses, right? So,
Right.
So in turn, if we were, and again, that doesn't say yes or no anything. It's just I'm observing that that's the case, right? So if the intent is to match the line of the other houses and to keep the porch from rising out of the hill, then pushing the building back so that the front edge of the porch, which is really the front end of the house as far as the massing is understood, right, would line up with the other houses. That's a possibility, and then that would solve the zoning issue by doing it.
And I don't believe,
Gets you a little further from your easement, because right now your porch is clipping the easement.
no, yeah, and I understand that it was clipping it. We're also worried about the backyard and making sure you can pull into the rear garage back there because it's pretty tight. So I think on the house next door, on the house to the north and the house to the south, both of those are just showing the main structure itself. It's not showing the front porch protrusions. Especially the one to the south has that large deck. So if you can see, they kind of line up a little bit there. That one's a little bit back, but they're all kind of staggered through there quite a bit.
Back here,
so one thing I will say though is I think if you line the main body up with the main body of the house to the south, it's like looks like a foot difference. I just do that and we move on. I mean,
But I'm comfortable.
and I think
don't-
that will meet.
I think the only thing I'm worried about is if we get too far in the back there because I have the garage back there and we kind of limited the driveway just enough so we can get into that 2-car detached garage. So if we have a little bit of play right there, I'd be more than happy to do that.
I will add, as a detached accessory structure, you can go up to 5 feet from the rear yard setback.
Correct, but it's going to be really hard for them to pull
Okay.
in off the alley there. That's what we were worried about.
Okay.
So-
I mean, but okay.
I would be more than, yeah. We were also thinking about cars parking back there, so they're not blocking the alley. Kind of keep it, there's a lot of thought that went into that. So we did look at that portion, but it is really hard to make that turn from an alley 5 foot into a garage.
I think from rough math here, it looks like 5.5-ish feet. If we got back, you'd be completely behind, the front porch would be behind the building line at about 5 feet, 5'6". So if we're pushing back a little bit, and you're saying you want,
That's what I'm worried about right there. I mean, I know we have the park across the street. That's a
but
big thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
you don't want to push back any further.
I think it's 20 feet, and I think we did that right off of the alley pavement. I mean, a parking stall is typically, 9 by 19? So got a little concerned about that right there.
Not having to be enough room to park on the apron outside the garage door.
Yeah.
So I don't know,
If we're certain, if the original comment that started all this was, will the porch be rising up out of the ground different than what the rendering shows because of the slope of the front, right? So that's what led us to wondering if
This
you're going
much,
to push it
yeah,
back, right?
no.
So my main concern, if it meets zoning, if the other porches, like you said, are out in front, which I think the photograph shows, if it's not going to make the porch stick out of the ground really high, then I don't have an issue with that.
I think the design is fine, and you express that you don't want a big concrete wall, which is
No.
where I was going.
No.
I don't want a concrete wall either, but
We're probably more picky than you guys are, so, yeah.
but it's- I
Yeah.
think
Let's
what
not
we're-
test it.
Yeah, let's not test that though, right?
Let's not test it, but I think we're also at the limit here where the design of the residence seems to be acceptable. We can approve the architectural review,
And I did have one question. Go ahead, finish. But yeah.
but the placement on the site, if the porch is allowed by zoning to hang over that far or not, is those guys.
No, it's fine, and I believe it is.
It could be, we'll have to verify. It's looking like might be a few inches over, but that could be adjusted by.
Okay. We'll take care of
Yeah,
that then with, yeah. When we read through the code, we believed it said 5 foot. It can encroach, the porch can encroach into the setback 5 foot. That's what we interpreted, so.
That's correct.
And that, yeah.
But what you're showing is that the house is at 29.33 feet, and the porch is at 9.33.
So that'd be 4.33 off the 25. And then that'd be
That
plus
means
5,
they're
that'd be
off.
9.33.
Yeah,
That's exactly what we have on the plans.
so we would just need a drawing showing that. A little
Okay.
But for this board,
Yeah.
the design of the residence is fine, work out the site.
And
I'll get it all
I
worked
have
out.
one question on the design.
Yes,
If we
sir.
could see if we can see the rendering again, because,
Gotta find it.
sorry, we took some time, like, understanding what the front and the back was.
No, and I understand
Yeah.
it's, you know,
So,
it's,
yeah, my only question, and I'm not, maybe looking at it, my question goes away. Sometimes when we're looking to distinguish the front of things, we go for something different in the gable than what's on the siding, right? So people have done a shake, people have done a board and batten vertical as a way to help distinguish the gable, which, so
I've actually just seen in the last 3 submissions. Or 2
yeah, well, I could put some tile up there, and do a diagonal pattern, you know.
wait a minute.
No,
Thought you were headed that way.
to go to what you said, we played with that quite a bit. Before we send it to the architect, we do a lot of the drafting in-house. We use a lot of AutoCAD ourselves, and we played with that quite a bit. And everything we did up there tried to make it too busy because you have all this other things going on with the deck and the front porch there. We felt that it just made it look too busy.
Do you need to ventilate that space?
No, we use a ridge vent system.
Okay, I was looking for something.
You were looking for a vent just to break up the mass.
We looked at we put one of those on there. We tried the shake. We tried the vertical that really didn't look good with that pitch. So we tried a bunch of different approaches to it. So we felt like what we landed at was the best option, in our opinion.
Thank you.
So just to clarify, do we have those, are these the colors that we're getting?
Right here, same colors.
Gotcha, I see it.
So the deck is the wood Trex.
Yes, and
deck.
then well, it's a AZEK, and oh, I'm sorry, I got the color right here. I wrote it down here so I could let you guys know what it
Are
is.
the columns actual wood? Or
They're going to
are they
be,
another
yes, they're going to be
component?
actually wood, and we're going to try to stain them as close to match the decking as possible. So,
Gotcha,
I don't have any other questions. I'm good.
okay.
Turner, no question.
No, no questions.
We have a motion.
Move to approve as submitted.
Second,
Calling the roll, Carl Carlin,
Yes.
Matt Foreman, yes. Paul
Yes.
Turner. There you go.
thank you, gentlemen. Have a good evening.
you too.
My question of when those houses would start turning over has now been answered because as soon as the park was built, I'm like, something's going to happen over there. So
All right. 9417 Sonora.
more. Oh my God.
Yes, last one. Busy night.
Hopefully mine's easy.
Oh, I saw a tile again.
I'm trying to close things. I've got too many things open.
Jennifer Taylor, 3312 Cambridge and Maplewood.
Thank you for being patient with the rest of it. Yeah.
What was the first document? Do I need the first document?
First document,
Sorry.
oh no, it may have been the civil.
Add reno,
Oh.
application, photo, streetscape, civil revised. Might as well open that one. All right, I'm gonna download them. I don't know. Do I need to? I don't think I need to download them. I'm gonna download them so I can work on them.
Oh, oh.
No, I don't want to save. I'm too tired. Stop that. There we go. All right. Tell us about your project.
It's basically a small one-story addition for a new kitchen on this house and a full basement underneath for a new laundry room. And then we're doing some interior renovations that make the inside flow better. The house is brick, and it has some existing wood siding in the end gables. And so we are proposing to do a flat roof addition because they are potentially wanting to do a second floor on that in the future. So we're designing it so that they can easily do a second floor if they decide to do that down the road. We're going with a 7-inch hardy plank in white to match the existing wood siding in the gables. Vinyl windows to match the existing vinyl windows in white. That exists, that you see on the back right now, there's a little bit of, a little bump out with siding. That's just a cantilevered bay. It's really small. So there, that's gonna come down, of course, and then new kitchen in its place, bigger. But we are under 200 square feet in the net impervious, so we don't need to do any water, stormwater stuff, so yay.
Cool, thank you.
You answered my only question, which was how did you arrive at a flat roof? You've answered that.
That is why.
Matt, can you show it in plan for a second?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I do not have any questions.
I don't have any questions either.
Anyone in the room or online with public comment? We're down to 2 attendees. No one's raising their hand. No public comment in the room, no other questions from the board. Do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve as submitted.
Second.
Calling the roll, Carl Carlin,
Yes.
Matt Foreman, yes. Paul Turner,
Yes.
there you go. Thank you
Great,
very much.
thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you.
All right, last agenda item. Building Official Director's Report, next meeting 21st.
Applications are not due until next week, but if you can mark your calendar for May 21st and let us know if you will be available.
I think we do have one.
We do have
I
one?
think I just got one the other day, it
Oh,
was sitting on
and
my desk.
Yeah. So we actually will have at least 2 items on the agenda.
I think I'm here. We don't have to ask for a motion because we ran the entire agenda, so we stand adjourned. Thank you.